Mr. Talha will explain to us why this place is sacred for three religions. Hello, Mr. Talha. We are very excited to be here, aren't we? Please go ahead.
Well, we were talking in the studio and suddenly we're in such a wonderful place. I think we are in one of the best places to do a program because the special aspects of three religions are here. Their sacred elements are here. The footprints of the prophets belonging to those religions are here. As you mentioned, the hill right behind us is the Temple Mount. Exactly 3,000 years ago from today, Prophet David conquered this city. And after the conquests, he and his son, Prophet Solomon, built the Temple of Solomon at the site where we see the Dome of the Rock. Yes, this place is indeed very important for Islam. Truly, as the Quran tells us, this is one of the two most significant places on earth that Allah Almighty specifically pointed out. That is the area covered by the Kaaba and the area covered by Al-Aqsa Mosque. The area covered by Al-Aqsa Mosque, Bayt al-Maqdis, the sacred house, the holy house. That is within this place, the suspended rock has a very distinct place and significance. In general, we are very familiar with this golden dome structure built during the Umayyad period. But the reason we call this dome is the Dome of the Rock is because of the rock that is expressed by the elevation on it, because each religion says different things about this rock according to its own beliefs. For example, let them take their spouses, children, and loved ones. Not like a tourist. They should go not just to tour Jerusalem for 3 days, once in their lives. There are Arab hotels very close to Al-Aqsa Mosque, 2-star, very cheap. They should stay there for a week on their own. They will enter as tourists. They will hire a taxi from Tel Aviv. In 40 minutes, they will arrive at Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem and settle into the hotel. Every day, with the call to prayer, Al-Aqsa Mosque, you have seen it too. When a person goes there, they say, I'm glad I became a Muslim, because the most beautiful part of Jerusalem is this area you see. There is a Temple Mount right in the middle. The top of the mount belongs entirely to you, and only you can enter there 5 times a day.
Yes, our journey to Jerusalem continues. We are currently on Mount Zion. We are in front of Bab al-Khalil, and actually, the Ottomans had a very important sensitivity regarding this gate. Mr. Talha will explain this, but we can say that this gate also takes its name from the fact that Prophet Abraham is called a friend of God. Please, Mr. Talha, let's hear the rest from you.
This gate is actually an exit gate of the city. When we exit through this gate, we are currently outside the city, not inside. When you continue straight after exiting, the city that comes before us is the city of Hebron. You will really be surprised. Try to read carefully on the gate. You must have easily read the part La ilaha illallah. It continues as Muhammadur Rasulullah, not Abraham. Yes.
Ibrahim Khalilullah writes.
You haven't forgotten. Yes, we talked about this on the broadcast at some point. Ibrahim Khalilullah writes, so we believe in God and his prophet Ibrahim. The reason it says Ibrahim Khalilullah here, while other gates say Muhammadur Rasulullah, is because foreigners, that is non-Muslims, frequently enter and exit through this gate.
We continue our tour of Jerusalem. We are currently in front of the most important church in Jerusalem for Christians. We are in front of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. There are many different legends about this place. We will ask Talha about all of them. Firstly, it is believed that the tomb of Prophet Adam is here. It is believed that Jesus Christ was crucified at this location. When we turn around, we see a staircase here. This staircase dates back to the era of Sultan Abdul Majid and has a very beautiful story. I would like to hear about it as well. This structure we see, namely the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, is very important for the Christian world. Among the people, it is said that the tomb of Adam is here. Christians believe in this. In fact, they consider it the tomb of Adam, seeing his body measurements as very large and thinking that a very large skull is buried here. That's why the name of this hill we are currently on is Golgotha, the Skull Hill. On the Mount of Olives. Behind us are the sacred sites of Jerusalem, the Dome of the Rock, Al-Aqsa Mosque. On the other side is Mount Zion. Mr. Talha, you will explain to us why this place is sacred for three religions. Hello, Mr. Talha. We are very excited to be here, aren't we? Please go ahead.
Well, I also, we were talking in the studio, and suddenly here we are in such a magnificent place. I think we are in one of the best places to do a program because the special aspects of three religions are here. The sacred sites are here. The footprints of the prophets belonging to those religions are here. As you mentioned, the hill right behind us is the Temple Mount. Exactly 3,000 years ago from today, Prophet David conquered this city. And after the conquest, he and his son, Prophet Solomon, built the Temple of Solomon at the site where we see the Dome of the Rock. An important period of Jesus Christ's life was spent here. For example, there are caves on the Mount of Olives where we are currently standing. Jesus Christ held conversations here with his apostles. And over there, among the colonnades of the second temple built in 30 BC on the Temple Mount, the Herod's temple, he conversed with his apostles and was ambushed here as he was about to be captured. Of course, they captured Judas and crucified him. Jesus Christ ascends to heaven from a place just 30 or 40 meters ahead of where we are now. So the famous event of ascension to heaven, which we Muslims believe in, takes place here. Additionally, the third event, the ascension to heaven, known as the Miraj, which is described to us in the Surah Al-Isra in the Quran, takes place here. Our Prophet comes here with a mount called Burak. Right behind us, behind the Al-Aqsa Mosque building, there is the Burak Mosque. The Burak wall is where the mount is tied. The place where the golden dome is behind us, which did not exist that day, is where he comes. He leads the prophets in prayer and ascends to heaven from that place with the Refref. And the Miraj event takes place here.
It's actually a very confusing issue. Where is the Al-Aqsa Mosque and where is the Dome of the Rock? In which one did the Miraj event take place? Actually, we're talking about a piece of land here, aren't we? During the Umayyad period and during the time of the Umayyad Caliph Omar, these places were turned into places of worship.
Exactly. For example, behind us, there is a huge structure with a lead dome. That is the Friday Mosque, built by the Umayyads, which we call the Al-Aqsa Mosque today. The structure with the golden dome, which we call the Dome of the Rock, is also a mosque with a rock dome from the Umayyad period. The rectangular area covered by these two, meaning the area covered by the trees, is the sacred area mentioned in the Prophet's hadiths, where one receives 500 times the reward. In other words, the sacred area referred to as Al-Aqsa Mosque in the Quran is actually the entirety of this land.
Actually, it's worth mentioning this. We are currently at Friday prayer time. Being in Jerusalem at a time when the gates of prayer are open is particularly exciting. It gives you goosebumps and makes you feel very fortunate to be here, especially at this time. I don't know if you can hear it, if it's coming through on the recording, but the sound of the Quran being recited at Al-Aqsa Mosque actually reaches as far as the Mount of Olives. We will go there shortly. We will also share footage from there with you. It was a Friday prayer time. When we film these images to show you, it feels like I've gone back there again now. All my hair stood on end. I sincerely wish for all our viewers to experience this spirituality. We mentioned that we are sharing our Jerusalem tour with you now. We will share our videos. The videos are coming to the screen. You know, there's something that's very curious and often confused. A yellow dome is seen, the Dome of the Rock. It said, I am at Al-Aqsa Mosque. Or when Al-Aqsa Mosque is mentioned, that yellow dome comes to mind when Jerusalem is mentioned. But it is always known as Al-Aqsa Mosque. In fact, Al-Aqsa Mosque is not a structure but an area. Al-Aqsa Mosque is also the vast area that includes the suspended rock, believed to be stepped on during the Prophet's ascension journey. The video that will follow now will share much more information about this with you. Yes, we are currently in a very blessed place. In front of us on the grounds of Al-Aqsa Mosque is the Al-Aqsa Mosque itself, and behind us is the Dome of the Rock. The Dome of the Rock, built during the Umayyad period, is established on the suspended rock, believed to have witnessed the Prophet's ascension journey, where he is believed to have stepped and ascended to the heavens. With the Crusaders' occupation of Jerusalem, this structure was converted into a chapel for a short period, but in 1187, with Saladin's conquest of Jerusalem, it was restored to its current form and began to be used as a mosque. and it is still used as a mosque today. There are a lot of details. There is a lot to talk about regarding Al-Aqsa Mosque and a lot to discuss about the Dome of the Rock. Talha Urler will now tell us the details, those very beautiful and special details.
Yes, this place is indeed very important for Islam. Indeed, this is one of the two most important places on earth that the Quran tells us about, specifically pointed out by Allah Almighty. That is the area covered by the Kaaba and the area covered by Al-Aqsa Mosque. The area covered by Al-Aqsa Mosque, Baytul Maqdis, the holy house. The sacred house that is within this place, the suspended rock has a very special place and significance. Generally, we are very familiar with this golden dome structure built during the Umayyad period, but the reason we call this dome the Dome of the Rock is because of the rock that is expressed by this elevation, because each religion says different things about this rock according to their beliefs. For example, when we look at Israeli sources, they believe that when the waters receded, Prophet Noah's Ark docked here. Although not like us, they think that Prophet Abraham sacrificed his son Isaac on this rock, which is something I will talk about a little, as it is also part of what we believe. Prophet David, along with his son Prophet Solomon, built the Temple of Solomon on this land. And the very heart of the temple, the place used as the altar rock, was where the suspended rock is located. We know that Prophet Solomon sacrificed many times on this rock in the name of Allah, the Almighty. We know that Prophet David and Prophet Solomon prayed with open hands and pleaded to Allah many times inside the cave beneath this rock. We also know that on the night of the Miraj, our Prophet, peace be upon him, descended with Burak to the place where the Burak Mosque is located, tied Burak there, and walked from there to this place. He led prayers for 124,000 prophets at the location right behind this mosque. Then descended into the cave beneath the rock to lead prayers for the 4 great prophets, and then ascended to the heavens, to the presence of Allah from a place called the Dome of the Miraj right behind us, with the help of a celestial vehicle called Refref. Now let's walk over there.
Inside the Dome of the Rock, there is the suspended rock. It doesn't say that the entire area we are in is actually the suspended rock. The elders say in that direction. But when we look, there is a cave under the suspended rock, and there are also memories of the prophets there. Could you share those as well?
Of course. For example, as mentioned earlier in the Quran, about Prophet David. Prophet Solomon, for instance, offered sacrifices here, and later prophets also honored these places. For example, Prophet Zechariah, known as the protector of women, and as you know, the wife of Prophet Zechariah was the sister of the mother of Mary. And in those days, there was a temple here belonging to the Jews. Prophet Zechariah was giving sermons here both as a prophet and as a religious leader. He was trying to guide people towards a certain standard. In those days, the wife of the family of Imran, which gives its name to the second longest surah in the Quran, Al-Imran, became pregnant. Everyone thought the child to be born would be the Messiah. And the mother had said, "I dedicate the one in my womb to the temple." But the child born was a girl. The Jews did not allow girls into the temple. Prophet Zechariah said, "No matter what, this girl will enter the temple." And he took care of the little girl, that is, Mary. In other words, Prophet Zechariah also entered this cave you see, the son of Prophet Zechariah. John the Baptist, who honored this courtyard, listened to many sermons and advice from his father, and protected Jesus, also entered. Jesus, who conversed with his apostles at every corner, also entered. The Virgin Mary also entered this place you see. On the night of the Ascension, our Prophet, peace be upon him, also entered.
Yes. What was the difference between the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque? We watched a video explaining what we should understand when we say Al-Aqsa Mosque. We have also shown you those sacred places. Mr. Talha, I will also get your comments. You probably have additions. But a few questions have come from our viewers with the wish tag. For example, Miss Seelan said, "If only we could also visit those blessed places." We have learned a lot thanks to you. Thank you very much. Please proceed.
For example, in the hearts of our people, Mecca and Medina hold a special place. For instance, people go there specifically. People go for Umrah once a year, every 3 years, or every 5 years. Why don't people go to Jerusalem when they go to Mecca and Medina? I don't understand this.
But we saw from the Umrah groups, didn't we, once?
Now, recently, the Religious Affairs Department has started something nice. People are going to Jerusalem. They stay in Jerusalem for 2 days. In fact, if you remember, there was a large Umrah group, including the officials from the Fatih Mosque. In fact,
near the School of Resurrection.
They had asked me to describe the places. They even took photos with you there. Now, 2 days in Jerusalem. Then they go to Umrah. I want to say this to our dear viewers watching us. For example, they should take their spouses, children, and loved ones. Not like tourists, not just to tour Jerusalem for 3 days once in their lives. They should go. There are Arab hotels very close to Al-Aqsa Mosque. 2-star, very cheap. They should stay there for a week on their own, meaning they will enter as tourists. They will hire a taxi from Tel Aviv. In 40 minutes, they will arrive in Jerusalem at Al-Aqsa Mosque and settle into the hotel. Every day, with the call to prayer, Al-Aqsa Mosque. You have seen it too. When a person goes there, they say, I'm glad I became a Muslim, because the most beautiful part of Jerusalem is this area you see. In the middle, there is a Temple Mount. The top of the mount belongs entirely to you, and only you can enter there. 5 times a day. Only you.
Only Muslims.
Only during the day for 2 or 3 hours. People of other religions enter like tourists. And even then, they cannot enter the structures, they just walk around. So you see, the Jews have found a wall in front of them. They have made it their Kaaba and keep swaying there. I'm not saying this to belittle, but in a corrupted religion. They are also searching for a common place of wisdom, but cannot find it. As for the Christians, they have invented 10,000 pilgrimage sites around the world, even though Jesus did not say such a thing. But we don't have such a thing. There are only 3, and Allah the Almighty has said, I have reserved 2 of these places for myself. One is the area covered by the Kaaba, and the other is the area referred to as Al-Aqsa Mosque. These 2 areas are very important, and one should go to Jerusalem. Would you look at this view? And you should get lost in these historic streets. It's a city where you can tour day and night with your family at a low cost. You should visit here 5 times a day. I mean, even just walking and wandering in this courtyard is a pleasure. Believe me, for 10 days after you, I learned such things. I saw such things. The Tika officials there also told me, please tell people they should come. For instance, I made a decision, every year, I must definitely go with my friends and loved ones and stay there for a week or 10 days. I already go with groups every 3 months. I travel for 3 or 4 days. No, this will be on your own. You will go. You will live there. It must definitely happen.
Yes, just like Mr. Talha said already. When you enter the Dome of the Rock in Al-Aqsa Mosque, you don't want to leave those places. I mean, it's like, how would it be like our day? Like this. Now I'm young. Let me explain with a young expression. It's like when someone first falls in love and doesn't want to part. It's as if the whole world collapses when they separate. Their heart stays, their mind stays, they miss every second. It's such a feeling. May God grant it to everyone who truly wants to go. Now, another question has come from one of our viewers. Mr. Omer asked if there were any problems entering and exiting Jerusalem.
In Jerusalem or to Tel Aviv. Let me say, there is no difficulty in visiting Jerusalem. It's one of the easiest places in the world to get a visa. If you're going with a group, you get a group visa. Nothing is stamped on your passport. And we land in Tel Aviv. In other words, we land in what was formerly known as the Ottomans' Jaffa. After landing in Jaffa, we enter as easily as we do in America and as difficult as we do in England. And once you enter, the city of Jerusalem is about 40 to 45 kilometers away. It can be reached by any car or vehicle. If we're in a group, our bus is already waiting for us. After going to Jerusalem, exploring and discovering the city is already a pleasure, because on the same street you see a Christian group, a Jewish group, and Palestinian Muslims bustling around. And then there's the history. Look, Mecca and Medina are the crown jewels. I am someone who has written a book about Mecca and Medina, but unfortunately, in Mecca and Medina, some people have left nothing of history. So spiritually, they are our crown jewels, though. But there is no history. But in Jerusalem, there is both spirituality and history. I mean, you see the Golden Horde state there, the Mamluks there, the Fatimids, the Ayyubids, the Abbasids, the Umayyads. You see pagan Rome there, Christian Rome here. I mean, it's astonishing, all of them together. There is no other city in the world where you can see all of these together. You can't see it in Istanbul. Istanbul is very beautiful. There is pagan Rome in Istanbul too. There is Christian Rome, and there is the Ottoman as well. In Iznik, there are these three, and also the Seljuks. That makes 4. But in Jerusalem, there are also the Seljuks and the Artukids. I mean, I don't want to explain everything I've seen in these 10 days here, because I want some of it to be left for the book, to be a surprise for people. I mean, I had traveled following many people whom I loved dearly in my life. I found the graves, the tombs of some of them there, and we were shocked.
I am also very curious. He doesn't even share it with us, saying he's saving it for the book, because he says it's not available in any way. I don't want it to leak in any way. It's not on the agenda either. I don't want anyone to find out. I will announce it with the book. Of course, we respect that. In the meantime, many people have asked. Just a moment ago, Mr. Talha also explained that area. He said, for example, only Muslims can enter the Al-Aqsa Mosque area, and women must cover their heads. I also appear covered in the VTRs. Many people have asked about this too. You can't enter there with your hair uncovered anyway. You must be covered from the bones, from your wrists to your ankle bones. Not even a strand of your hair should be visible. This is how it is applied. It is implemented according to Sharia law there.
When walking around Jerusalem to approach the Wailing Wall, I'm saying this for men, they need to cover their heads. Jews, of course, I don't have hair on my head. I always wear a hat. Now, if you are entering a church, whether in Jerusalem or not, they immediately make you take off your hat. For example, a man cannot enter a church with his head covered. Every religion has its own understanding and sensitivity. And there is a situation like this here. They are very much in agreement on this matter. Isn't that right? So when entering the sacred area of the Jews, men cover their heads. In Islam, women cover themselves. And in other cases, men cover themselves. So there is no problem here either. They have come to a very nice agreement among themselves on this matter. We will continue. What will we continue with? Well, Babul Halil. The Ottomans ruled Jerusalem for a period, for about 4 centuries. And not a single drop of blood was shed without any conflict or noise. So how did the Ottomans achieve this? What were their strategic secrets? Now, you will see.
Yes, our journey to Jerusalem continues. We are currently on Mount Zion. We are in front of the Bab al-Khalil, and actually, the Ottomans had a very important sensitivity regarding this gate. Mr. Talha will explain this, but we can say that this gate also takes its name from the fact that Prophet Abraham is called Chebe, a friend of God. Please, Mr. Talha, let's hear the rest from you.
This gate is actually an exit gate of the city. When we exit through this gate, we are currently outside the city, not inside. When you continue straight after exiting, the city that comes before us is the city of Hebron. As you mentioned, the tomb of Prophet Abraham is also inside there, and that's why this name was given. Now, normally in cities ruled by the Ottomans, the entrance gates of the city usually have the declaration of faith. That is, there is no God but Allah. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, or the testimony of faith written on them. However, this gate surprises us, because if you look at the plaque just inside the gate from where you are now, you will truly be surprised. Try to read carefully above the gate. You must have easily read the part, there is no God but Allah. Following that, it is not Muhammad, is the messenger of Allah.
Ibrahim Khalilullah.
You haven't forgotten. Yes, we talked about this on the broadcast at one point. Ibrahim Khalilullah writes, meaning we believe in Allah and his prophet, Prophet Ibrahim. The reason it says Ibrahim Khalilullah here, while other gates say Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, is because foreigners, that is non-Muslims, frequently enter and exit through this gate. May I mention a memory related to this?
Of course.
There was a minister of national education during the Turgut Özal era, Vehbi Dincerler. One day, he invites foreign ambassadors to his home and has copies of this plaque made for all of them. He presents it as a gift in a large frame, and says while gifting, "We managed to keep this city for 400 years, without shedding blood, allowing different races, colors, and religions to live together. After us, in 50 years, you turned it into lakes of blood." He says, "This is why we governed with peace," and presents the plaque as a gift. A journalist friend of mine years later, not too long, maybe 78 years later, went to the home of that American ambassador as journalists were invited. I saw that he had hung this plaque in a prominent place on his wall. It was there, he says.
We were in Babylon Halil.
A very beautiful place. It is generally a gate used by non-Muslims in Ottoman Jerusalem. It's also called Halil Gate, Jaffa Gate nowadays. Of course, when you look at the inscriptions, if we can understand their language, they tell us a lot. Consider the sensitivity of the Ottomans, the ability to name that gate after Prophet Abraham, a shared figure, and thus embrace non-Muslims and non-Islamic elements is a great magnanimity. I wish we could have seen this in people of other religions as well.
All right, now we will proceed to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Actually, the Holy Church of the Sepulchre. It didn't turn into a word. There are also very important aspects there, especially 3 or 4 key points. For example, the keys are with the Muslims. Why are they with the Muslims? There is a ladder up there. Since which Ottoman Sultan's era has that ladder been there? And why can't anyone move it? We will also watch this. We came across some ceremonies inside. We will show them inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre as well. And of course, why doesn't Caliph Omar pray there? And what becomes of the place where he does pray afterwards? We will discuss these as well. First, let's watch our video and see the visuals. We will talk about how we can make you experience that spirit. Continue our tour of Jerusalem. We are currently in front of the most important church in Jerusalem for Christians. We are in front of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. There are various legends about this place. We will ask all of them to Talha Urila. Firstly, it is believed that the tomb of Adam is here. It is believed that Jesus was crucified at this location. When we turn around, we see a staircase here. This staircase dates back to the era of Sultan Abdul Majid and has a beautiful story. I want to hear it.
This structure we see, namely the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, is very important for the Christian world. Among the people, it is said that the tomb of Adam is here. Christians believe in this. In fact, they consider it the tomb of Adam, seeing his body measurements is very large and thinking that a very large skull is buried here. That's why the name of this hill we are currently on is Golgotha, the Skull Hill. But as we know, the tomb of Adam is not here. Structure we see is a hill. Throughout history, thousands of people were crucified on this hill. That day they were going to do the same to Jesus Christ. But by God's permission, they couldn't capture Jesus Christ. Instead, Judas was captured. They brought Judas along this path, half naked, and did all sorts of evil to him. Finally, they brought him here. And on that day, there were 2 vile, greedy criminals with him on this hill. They crucified those 3 people here. And Judas died on the cross that evening. And Jesus Christ never came here to be crucified.
He had already left from there with the apostles.
He ascended to the Mount of Olives, and from the Mosque of Ascension on the Mount of Olives, he rose to the heavens. there is a wooden ladder at the back. It's quite interesting.
It dates back to Sultan Abdul.
So a wooden ladder has been there since Sultan Abdul Majid's time, and no one has touched it. And not only can no one remove it from there, but they will also put a railing in front of it to prevent it from falling. Here's the story. Every year, there is a fight in this church. Just look it up on the internet. Chaos erupted at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. You will read these news stories a lot. When they clash, of course, news is sent to Istanbul. There is such a problem. What should we do? A decree comes from Sultan Abdul Majid. Freeze whatever anyone is doing in the church. Until we send a new sanction, no one should take anyone else's place. In other words, a new law rule. Cleaning the window panes was the duty of the Armenian priests. It was their place. While the man was cleaning the window, they tell him to get down. He asks why. There is an order from the Sultan in Istanbul. Everyone was told to stop what they are doing. He says, at least let me take down the ladder. They say, you can't even touch the ladder. They said everything should remain as it is, and even the ladder is not taken down. No new law rule comes from the Ottoman Empire. Even after the fall of the Ottoman Empire, no one has the power to take down that ladder. Why? Because only the Ottomans could make a decision, as in this church, that everyone would agree to. Since there is still no state as powerful as the Ottomans to have authority over all, this wooden ladder continues to remain here. Saladin is a very intelligent man. For example, if he were to give the keys of this church to a Muslim family, tomorrow that family or their descendants might misuse the right to use these keys for malicious purposes. Saladin chooses two Muslim Arab families here. One is the Nusaybe family and the other is the Jawde family. He says to one, the duty of carrying the keys, the church keys, is yours, to Nusibe. And to Jude, he says the duty of using them is yours. And the decision is made. So, in the most important church in the world, the keys are entrusted to those deemed most reliable,
The Muslims.
Yes, now I would like to give a special thank you. Of course, we were with the Utekildem during the Jerusalem trip. Each one of them was precious and valuable. I enjoyed getting to know them, spending time with them, learning history with them, and sharing history with them. I send my regards to each of them individually, but I send special regards to Kubra Usta, because many of the images you see in these VTRs were taken with Kubra's own camera. Thanks to Kubra, she shared her images with us and we were able to use them. After saying thank you very much, since we are already at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, I would like to ask a couple of questions related to this place. We talked about Salahatin Nebi's intelligence. Well, regarding the keys of the church, he showed exceptional intelligence. Well, there's a separate genius there. Why didn't Caliph Omar pray in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre? And again, regarding Caliph Omar, they are going to give the keys of Jerusalem. They say, let your Caliph come. What happens next? Please go ahead.
Caliph Omar becomes the Caliph in 634. Exactly 2 years later, in 636, the Islamic armies besiege Jerusalem, and even further north, military operations continue. They ask, what should we do? Should we force our way in? Caliph Omar says, no. That is a holy city. Do not force it. They will eventually open the gate themselves, he says. In other words, let them hand over the key willingly. And Jerusalem waits for exactly 2 years, until the year 638. In 638, the one governing Jerusalem at that time, the head of the Christians, Patriarch Sophronius of Jerusalem, decides to hand over the key to Jerusalem. But there is one condition. He says, I will only give the key to your head of state. So the head of state, Caliph Amir al-Mu'minin, Hazrat Umar, is informed. Hazrat Umar will travel from Medina to Jerusalem to receive the key. He says, all right, I will come. He takes one man with him. But Hazrat Umar only takes one camel. Is there no camel or mount in the public treasury? There is, but that's Hazrat Umar. He's different. A symbol of justice. How will they ride? The distance between Medina and Jerusalem is quite significant. Maybe more than 1,000 kilometers. They take turns riding the camel. He lets his assistant ride, then he rides himself, then lets his assistant ride again. Imagine the great caliph, the head of state, is holding the camel's reins. The assistant is bending over. Please, sir, don't do this. You should ride all the time. He says, no, justice requires this. There is the West Bank River. They arrive at this side of the river. The protocol is waiting on the other side, including the Jerusalem Protocol Sopromius. It was exactly the assistant's turn to ride the camel. The assistant is begging, sir, at least here, you should ride the camel. There's a protocol. It would be inappropriate. Hazrat Omar says, no, justice requires this. And
It's your turn.
in the end, yes, go ahead.
No, I shouldn't say it. You tell it, please.
Okay. Then, when Hazrat Omar pulls the camel's reins and approaches the group closely, they come, not to the man on the camel. Very interesting. Even though they don't know him, they go to the person pulling the camel's rope, Hazrat Omar, and hand him the key. The assistant on the camel is also surprised. How did you recognize him? How did you know? They say it's ours. In the information told to us, in our books it was mentioned as follows. The keys to Jerusalem will be given to a person who comes pulling the reins of a camel, dressed in torn clothes.
So it will be given to the one pulling the reins, not the one on the camel. I have always been very surprised by this. It has always seemed interesting to me. What is it that seems interesting? Actually, it's always present in the holy books of the Jews and Christians that a prophet will come, a religion will come, and just like in this story, like in this narration, they even know to whom they will give the key, but they do not accept that prophet. It's very interesting. The priests know. When we look at it, before the prophet received his prophethood, they always knew in Damascus and other places he visited. The Jews knew he was a prophet. They even recognized him from his seal. Actually, the situation of knowing but not accepting.
The side.
Interesting.
Unfortunately, the vein of partisanship can sometimes cause people to deny truths they know very well. Yes, that person or those people did very beautiful, very good, very beneficial and auspicious deeds. But there is also partisanship. They say, if he is not from me, then I must disqualify him. And our Prophet, peace be upon him, also experienced this.
All right. Now, we have moved on from here. I will now move on to other Mamluks, but the resurrection.
Yes.
This is the garden of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. We descended these stairs. The church is right behind us.
On top of the wall, we see there is the Mosque of Hazrat Omar. You see those railings, right? Just behind those railings was the Mosque of Hazrat Omar, the place where he prayed.
Now we have moved on from here. Where did we go? To the Wailing Wall.
Correct.
Before moving on to the Mamluks, I would like to talk a bit about the Wailing Wall. There were a few images there. Why were there only a few images? Why were there so few images? Because we already coincided with the Jewish Sabbath.
It happened to be right there.
Yes, we happened to be right there. Just as they showed us respect, especially in the courtyard of Al-Aqsa Mosque, where we enter covered. They do not enter, they do not go inside. They expect Muslims to show them respect during their Sabbath. They do not use electronic devices themselves. Therefore, they did not allow us to use them either. But of course, until we learned this, we had already used them and managed to take a few pictures. Otherwise, we were very respectful, very respectful. We really did not even attempt it. Please, Mr. Talha.
Actually, this issue is even used against Jesus. Jesus emerged from among the Jews and says, your religion is over. In other words, he comes with a new belief. They are looking for such a flaw in Jesus. Not to use the wrong term, but to kill or have Jesus killed, to incite people to attack. Now, the Jews have the Sabbath. That is, from the time of the evening call to prayer on Friday to the time of the evening call to prayer on Saturday for 24 hours. You cannot use any items, meaning you cannot operate them. If you don't press the button of the elevator, for example, if you're going to cook or not, you cannot press the button of the oven. You cannot plug in the dryer and turn its knob. You cannot drive a car. There are many such things. For example, they come to provoke Jesus in society. They say, you have said that people can work on the Sabbath. Is that true? If he says yes, they will attack. In the gospel, Jesus says to them exactly this. He says, if one of you on that day, the Sabbath, has a large animal, a buffalo, an ox, or something that falls into a ditch, will you just watch because it's the Sabbath? Won't you pull it out? They become silent. In other words, they can never compete with Jesus. In the end, they have to complain to the Romans when they can't handle him.
Thank you very much. Well, we went to Jerusalem. We wanted to bring those holy lands, those sacred places, to your homes, to your screens. We hope you can feel as if you have visited as well. Well, our intention was sincere. We hope you have felt and seen the things we wanted to convey. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch us. Well, we will meet again on Tuesday in another OTEC agenda. We will gift the book Ottoman Codes to 20 of our viewers who write to the Gönüllüs Turkey tag. Goodbye for tonight. I wish you a good weekend.